What is happening now is that some kind of fresh air, some kind of new voices are emerging from Capitol Hill, raising legitimate questions about Israel, about America's foreign policy toward Israel, and about the Israeli lobby in the States. Those are very legitimate questions, and it is more than needed to raise them. But the Israeli propaganda and the Jewish propaganda in recent years made it as a systematic method. Whenever anybody dares to raise questions or to criticize Israel, he is immediately and automatically labeled as anti-Semite, and then he has to shut his mouth, because after this, what can he say? This vicious circle should be broken, and I really hope that great politicians like Mrs. Omar and others will be courageous enough to stand in front of those accusations and to say, yes, it is legitimate to criticize Israel. Yes, it is legitimate to raise questions, and this does not mean that we are anti-Semites. We are not ready to play this game anymore in which they shut our mouths with those accusations, which in most of the cases are hollow.
What kind of effect does this debate? Now, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and Andre Carson, 3 Muslim Congress members, applauded the final resolution, saying it's the first time that there was this anti-Islamophobia resolution that was passed by the House of Representatives. Of course, in addition to the anti-Semitism issue, they broadened it out. What kind of effect does this debate have in Israel? And, you know, you're just about to have your elections. The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is just about to be indicted for corruption.
Yeah, as you probably know, Amy, the campaign in Israel deals only with one question, Netanyahu, yes or no, and many more important questions and crucial questions and fatal questions are even not being discussed. But in any case, Mrs. Omar will be also portrayed in Israel, as in any other place in the Jewish communities, as an anti-Semite, as a dangerous woman, as an enemy of peace, an enemy of Israel, an enemy of the Jewish people. And you know, the propaganda, this kind of propaganda is very, very efficient. And we just have, I just got so many emails after my last piece, and someone asked me, how can a Jew support such a woman? So I answered him very easily, very, very easily, because she seems to be courageous and she seems to say the truth. And it's about time to say the truth. And yes, Amy, to ask, do we support automatically and blindly the occupation? Is it legitimate to criticize the occupation? Maybe it is legitimate to handle Israel as South Africa was handled. Maybe BDS is something that we should consider. Those questions are even not legitimate to raise in the United States. And maybe now this vicious circle will be broken and people will have the courage, the guts, and the power to ask questions. Yes, everything is questioned. Even God is questionable. So the relations with Israel is not questionable. I saw the other day a congressman say that nobody should question the relations between the United States and Israel. Excuse me? Nobody should question the relations between Israel and the United States? Here from Tel Aviv, I claim that those relationships are corrupted and are bad for peace and bad for Israel for the long run, because the United States let Israel go crazy, continue the occupation, do whatever it wants, and get this automatic and blind support.